Hey, good morning.
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 So we'll start with something easy. So every year there are a lot of announcements. Everything is going to change the industry completely. Maybe this year with AI, that's actually going to happen. What do you think is going to change, and what do you think is definitely not going to change, and AI is definitely not going to be controlling in the future?
Hello, everybody. I think obviously AI is the buzzword that we're hearing every day, every second, and I think AI tools obviously are changing and are evolving at the speed of light. But I think something that would never change is the fact that AI cannot generate goosebumps, right? And I think in terms of brand building, two things will remain consistent and will remain forever. The core pillars are how you keep your brand alive, which is truth and trust. And I do think it is important to make sure that those beliefs are attached to everything that you do, but it's also transmitted, communicated, and understood by your audiences, whether you are using AI-generated tools to deliver that message, or whether you are delivering those messages within the craft of your creative teams and your creative people and the humans behind the work and the brand that you do. So trust and truth, for me, are interchangeable and forever alive.
That's great. I love that AI is not going to generate goosebumps. That's a great thing. I'm going to use that. What do you guys think?
So I think what's changing, and we all know, is how consumers are discovering brands. But I agree, some of the fundamentals behind it doesn't change. And I think what's not going to change is that all of us are still going to be here next year, and we're all going to be in charge still, regardless of the AI. Because I see AI as enabling, as augmentation of humans, but not replacing what we do.
I'll give a perspective. I think what's not going to change is the power of creative thinking, and what will change is the ability to bring that creative thinking to life in very rapid iterations of content. And I think that's we see that every day in all the work that we do. It's just shorter lead times on getting things into market.
So I'm actually taking a little bit different tact. I'm not sure what's going to change. I think what we're seeing with AI and the rate and the acceleration is so mind-boggling. We all of a generation, we lived through that first .com in the 90s to 2000s. And it obviously transformed so much, but it took time. I think I would love to say, I love the Goosebumps line. I love the idea of creative design, but at this stage, I am not really sure what's going to change and not change. And that to me is exciting, frightening, all rolled into one. So I think back to a story. I learned about ChatGPT. I'm an adjunct, which I'll probably get to as we go through, as a side hustle. So I teach, and I had an office hours, and a student brought me ChatGPT right when it launched. And he said, Professor Master, look what this could do. I'd seen it in the Wall Street Journal. I was like, we started playing with it, and it sucked. It was terrible. And that was 24 hours after it launched. Fast forward to 6 months later, it was like such a remarkable tool, and it's only accelerated since then. So I'm really not sure what's going to change and not change.
Right, so I think we all agree that we have no idea how the future looks like, but we do know that humans have to be in the loop. This is not something we're going to hand over, right? Elaine, this is for you. So you're holding the insights, analytics, and GenAI mandate in one role, which means your company thinks this all sits at the same place and needs to be solved, right? Where do you think GenAI is generally earning its place in marketing, and where do you think the industry is just fooling itself, and that's gonna happen?
Sure. So it's an interesting role. I did not start my career in AI or technology. I started my career in an understanding of people. of insights and so on. And I guess maybe my organization, we realized from the beginning that that's going to be the key to whether AI was going to really transform the way we look at marketing within the organization. So we see it as a people transformation rather than a technology work stream. So where do I believe that it's working? Maybe I can just speak for the way that we are looking at it in Reckitt. And we look at things, what we're embedding in terms of efficiency, effectiveness, and engagement. We've created some internal solutions in an insights generation assistant, which ingests 30 over data sources to develop insights and develop ideas. And we've got 1,500 marketers now on the platform. We see engagement or adoption of about up to 80% on a good day, which is pretty good. We see 70% more efficiency in insights generation. And the reason I think why people are using it is because they're getting better. And they're seeing, and people are winning. So they're winning with their ideas in, research testing 2 to 3 times more often than they used to, right? So I think that's where at least we feel like we're winning at the moment. And I feel we're winning because people are using it naturally. It's not a push, it's a pull. Where are we fooling ourselves? I don't know about fooling, but I think this whole thing about agentic AI and how it's going to take over everything and automate everything, I don't know. I think at the moment, from what I've seen, it's more like agentic workflow. So maybe that's where we're going first. And that's actually where it's helpful. But the idea that this machine is just going to take over and do everything, I don't think so. At the end of the day, we're in charge, right? We're like the boss of the machine. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Rob, this is for you. So you run media at one of the world's biggest advertisers. Do you think AI is going to level the play field for all brands, or do you think it gives more advantage for brands with more data and budgets?
So I think AI is a democratization of information. And I referenced before, I teach. And my focus now for young people is IQ and how smart and knowledgeable you are is all like it's a click away. The difference now is going to be in your personal relationships, in your curiosity, in how you prompt to access knowledge, and how you take that knowledge and you interact and socialize it with people around you. And so I think that I was at a very large advertiser, one of the biggest, and now I'm at a much smaller advertiser. So I feel like the ability to democratize that information. Now, of course, there's resources and investments and access to data and measurement. But I genuinely believe that so much knowledge is now democratized, and the ability to leverage it, prompt it, act on it, and socialize it is going to be the key. And I feel like, we're in a space, an organization where we're very focused on US for US sake, China for China's sake. We're not nearly as global as we could be. And I think with good reason, for our ability to take that information and move on it quickly versus going through some of calling London, calling Singapore, looking for answers and feedback. I think it's a tool today, but I think it's going to be much greater tomorrow.
Agree. Ricardo. You lead the creative and brand design for one of the most recognized brands in America. At a festival such as Cannes, where everybody's looking for the new thing, what do you think for brand building, what doesn't change and what will not change no matter how the tools are going to shift?
I think what's going to change is going to be the pipeline on how you do deliver creativity, right? I think when it comes to creative leaders like me, and the question is always what's the output? How do you use AI on this video, on this picture, on this thing? And nobody's really asking about the pipeline, right? Actually, the video was not done with AI, but everything that actually made that video happen was with the help of multiple AI tools and platforms, from audience mapping, to social listening, to brief development, to testing, to qual, to storyboarding. So the whole process of the idea was really accelerated massively because of AI. But doesn't mean that the output has also to be a product of purely AI-generated content, right? There's certain things that we can leverage. So that's number one. I do think there's going to be a lot, especially for large organizations like Verizon. You have 12 points of sales, you have multiple digital platforms. There is going to be, by, in 5 years, all the production, all the derivative content, all the versioning, all of that, it's going to be 100% automated, right? But that opens an opportunity to what Rod was saying for like the real need for critical thinking, the real need for identifying what's right, what's wrong, what's going to resonate and what's not, and also to really go deeper into tools that AI today cannot do. To his point, AI is pulling from a source of content that already exists. So if you really want to break through creatively, you need to reinvent. You cannot keep pulling from the things that exist because your creative is going to look like something that it's already out there. So those are some of the things that we will latch on, will help us, and some of the things that are going to be the integrity of the creative function of all these brands, that they're going to have to maintain that integrity, and they're going to have to invest a lot in critical thinking, critical development, and what I call just like understanding of what's resonating with their audiences.
Yeah, so this is not part of the cards. Because you said that, how do we make sure that content, creative, everything that AI creates, how do we make sure that it feels human, it has the emotion, it creates that storytelling, the emotion crafting that we're looking for, and not just a copy of a copy of a copy. What do you guys think?
I mean, what I would say is that you have to also understand what is acceptable and what's not. There's content that is 100% generated in AI because I just need to tell somebody to get a new phone on Verizon. That does not need any sort of like insane human connection. It needs clear, transparent information about how the deal works. So there's no issue with that, right? But if I really want to connect beyond the transactional, then I have to go deeper to understand like what does the audience want and how does those needs match with the corporate values of Verizon, which is connecting you to the things that matter most to you. And if that thing is seeing how your football team got dressed and arrived to the stadium before the game because you care about that, then we're going to deliver content that is about that. And that is a very human thing. There is a very specific sort of like need. And that might be delivered with the help of some software. But the humanity of what that moment really feels and looks like cannot be jeopardized, can never be replaced by anything else.
I think sometimes the fear is that with AI, we're going to end up with a sea of mediocre work, right? And it's going to be like this sea of sameness across. And that's where I think what you mentioned at the beginning about the creativity, I mean, that's the magic sauce. I mean, and how are you going to find a differentiation otherwise? And this morning, just before this, I was at the meeting with our creative agency as well, where we're looking at how AI can help in terms of the intelligence and bringing that all in. But it's not like we're going to delegate all our work to that. That's when the human is still going to come in. We're still going to keep having the conversations and the collaboration. And yes, our creative agency is going to bring what they have to the party, intelligence, but then we're also going to bring what we have in our proprietary insights and tacit knowledge, exactly like you said. That's the beauty of it, right? And bring that together. And so I think that's what takes something that's 6 out of 10 to like 9 or 10 out of 10. Because everybody can get the 6 out of 10 now, to be honest, by just going and everything's out there. I love the idea of access, but how do you get that differentiation?
I think from my perspective, there's different layers of creativity, right? Or creatives. And, if you look at the mass-produced kind of like display, search type of creatives, that's really easy to do with AI now and run tests, A/B tests, market tests. And that's great to see. And we see kind of like a return on that type of creative continue to increase just because you can iterate faster. But when it comes to the top level brand creatives, that's where the creative thinking and the creativity comes in, but the execution times are shrinking. Things that would have taken us months to do in the past now take weeks, and that's great to see.
Yep, absolutely. So James, Indeed is helping people find their next job. Now with AI reshaping how jobs are looking like, how do you guys change the narrative? How do you guys help people find their next job? And what do you guys do internally with that?
Well, it is a rapidly evolving job market, that's for sure. And if you think of Indeed, it is the world's largest job marketplace. 31 people a minute get hired through Indeed, and the jobs that exist with Indeed reflect kind of like, the global labor force. 95% of those jobs are in-person jobs: healthcare workers, retail workers, restaurant workers, construction workers. And you don't see too much change in those type of jobs. But then there are 5% of the jobs which are more white collar, where you see enormous change. And I think it's our responsibility, having the world's largest data on job market changes, job posting changes, skills requirement changes, to actually share that as a kind of like a guiding light to people in a time of great evolution. We have a group called Hiring Labs, which is an economic research group that basically advises central governments, policymakers, central banks. And it's all being focused on those type of institutions. But if you think about the insights we can give to people looking for work about what's changing, where the jobs are, how skills requirements are, I think that becomes much, much more important. And so, thinking as us as a guide rather than just a marketplace to come and search for jobs is probably the key thing.
Elaine, so you guys have a lot of AI systems making decisions. How do you build trust in machine recommendation across a global organization?
So we have AI systems that enable our marketers to make decisions. So the systems don't actually make the decisions themselves. So for that reason, as you said, for trust, I think there are two reasons that people trust what we've created within the organization. One is because they trust that the data is coming from sources of our own, and that my team and we've curated it, and so that the solution is not going to hallucinate in that sense. And the second thing, the reason there's trust is because of the tacit knowledge as well. And the people who actually own each of these solutions come from within Reckitt. So we've actually built these ourselves, and it's the subject matter experts of each of these areas. And to some extent, we've kind of almost poured our sort of life's learnings almost into training this solution so that these 1,500 marketers around the world can access it. So for that reason, I think there is trust. I mean, that is not something that I've heard playback in terms of not having trust in these sort of internal systems that we are using. But now and then, obviously, something doesn't work. And what we do is we ask for feedback, right? As well, and we get on it quickly.
Yeah. Do you feel that marketers can trust AI, or do you think that we still need to babysit all the outcomes, all the answers, and continue to tell it that's not what I meant, I need something else? What do you think? What stage are we at?
Maybe I'll take and then I'll pass on. So yesterday when I was at Microsoft, we were asked an interesting question in a panel to start. They said, if you think about AI in your company, what life stage is the AI at? Is it a baby, a toddler, a moody teenager, a wise elder, And both my fellow panelists and we kind of arrived at the same. I said, I'll use my daughter, younger daughter, as a kind of the analogy. I'm sure she'll love it that I'm using her here. But this is not going to be on TikTok, right? So she'll never know. But I said, I feel it's like an 18-year-old, like a teenager who's on the cusp of going to university. Kind of knows something, is ready to be independent, but thinks sometimes that it knows everything, and it doesn't. And at that stage, you just kind of need to nudge it back. Give it a little bit more training and nudge it back in line. But once again, as a parent, you're kind of in charge of it. So that's where I feel, at least for us, that's where we are.
Yeah, so the challenge of building a business with a teenager.
Like a startup?
I love that description. I think it really depends not just where you are as an organization, but the tools you're using. The tools are coming so fast and furious. We have like a policy now. We have like an internal creative studio. We work with our advertising agency, and everything has to be human viewed before it goes out. But I think we're very much you have to have an eye on it. We worked with a very large media platform, who promised this kind of new optimization AI tool. And it's for one of our products called Billy, which targets women 18 to 24 for shaving. And they optimized over half our audience within a week to men over the age of 50. It probably says a host of things about men on the internet, but it's just very concerning. Like, they just let it sit. Like, when we got a window into it a week in, we're like, what are you doing? And I think you have to be watchful. And this, by the way, is one of the most sophisticated, advanced tech companies there are, and they were not minding the store at all. And so, and by the way, not for nothing, they were like, we're not giving any money back, no make goods. This is like the way the tool works. And so I think we need to be much more on top of what's happening with our media dollars, with our creative. Like, you hear one story after another with hallucinations. Hallucinations are absolutely real. I have a funny story, like, so I live in New York. I'm not a New York Knicks fan, but it was fun to be part of the Knicks championship run. And so I was doing something a couple days ago where I was writing something about the Knicks. And I put it into ChatGPT just for like a polish. And it came back and it changed the Knicks to like a championship winner. And I went back, why are you doing that? It says the New York Knicks have not won the NBA championship since 1973 or something like that. And so this was a couple days ago. And so we just have to be super mindful still that it has its own thoughts. And by the way, this is ChatGPT, which is one of the most developed tools. Forget like the creative ones that you're probably using, that my studio's using. Like, we have to be very mindful of what's coming out of it. Again, endless opportunities, but for now, we have to keep a close eye.
Absolutely. Ricardo, what's the recent piece of work you're proud of, and what made it land culturally rather than just commercially?
Well, part of multiple things, including some things that we launched yesterday. I think one of the most iconic pieces of work in the last probably couple of months is a partnership that we did with Connor Story. And we created a short film with him to talk about network superiority. And the reason I'm very proud of this is because in an industry that is obsessed with claims, we are the fastest, we have the best, we are the most coverage, we're in more places, we're in here, we're in there, we're in there. This was a way to do two things. One, completely reinvent what best means for a very specific audience and give people something that they not only would enjoy, but also walk away with a sentiment around Verizon that they never expected before. So, I'll play a little bit of a video in terms of what the idea is, and then we can talk a little bit more about it.
Absolutely. So do we have a clip that we can play?
Connor Story's butt has its own fandom.
I'm more butt than man.
America's ass confirmed.
This is about butts, specifically this one, belonging to this man.
I feel good.
While culture was obsessing over Connor's story, no brand had yet to, make a grab at the conversation. That is until Connor butt-dialed his way into a genre-bending horror film that took the internet by sexy storm.
Holy fuck!
A 4.5-minute movie starring Connor's and Verizon's greatest assets. Shot by acclaimed director Nia DaCosta, Look Behind You tapped into a universal dread, the butt dial, while we dropped Connor and the viewers into a frighteningly familiar secluded cabin narrative.
I've been waiting for you.
Okay, I'm not messing around!
We were merely setting them up for a TikTok-worthy twist. The killer was not only in the house, it was in his back pocket.
Oh.
Not only was it watched again and again.
Did I see it?
And again, drooled over, shared, tweeted, texted, and written about. It became Verizon's fastest engaging campaign ever. By turning a universal truth and a universal obsession to cinematic fire, Verizon gave the people what they wanted.
10 out of motherfucking 10, babe.
In a way only the best network could.
Service so good, it's scary.
So there will be a case study about me telling my CEO that we were not going to be saying the fastest, and we're going to be saying best bud, best network. But this is exactly what I'm talking about when I tell you, like, leveraging kind of like interesting AI tools to understand the mapping of the audience. And the reason Connor was selected is because it was a cross-pollination of audiences that we weren't able to capitalize in one piece of content. You know, gay men and gay fandom, and women of all generations. You know, Gen Z, millennial, like 50 plus. Women were obsessed with this guy, and we were like, this is a way for us to do something and connect with a massive audience that is craving for someone to see more of him. The second thing was, there was a lot of speculation of what he was gonna be doing after. And there was a lot of reports on the press that he was gonna do a horror film. So we said, let's just give the people what they want. And we created a horror film about his butt to tell that Verizon had the best network. So wild idea to put together, but an incredible, incredible output and an incredible partnership with our agency teams as well.
This is great. I'm generally love the fact that you guys took that storytelling, did something out of the box. I bet no AI would recommend this, but that's exactly the magic that I think you can't get out of AI. So great work, amazing. Let's stay on that subject. So Verizon shows up in enormous range of moments, sports, cultures, everyday life. How do you keep the brand feel so coherent and human at that scale?
Yeah, so what I would say is scale is not, people confuse scale with like matching luggage, matching fonts, matching colors, especially when you are a retail organization this massive, right? And it is that, but what it truly is about like matching values. And the reason I say that is because with the tools that we have available right now, it will be very easy for me to say, oh, I'm gonna have a different message in every single store across the country because I wanna be cheeky to neighborhoods and locals, etc. And in retrospect, that sounds, oh, that's a great idea. But it's actually, it could be very detrimental to the brand because suddenly you're showing up very disjointed, using slang or words that makes you look like, you know, a dad trying to talk Gen Z. And you are in the diminishing sort of like the impact of consistency and value. Now, if we are consistent in our values, which is, like I said before, connecting you to the things that matter most, whether that is accessing your bank account from your phone or getting the latest technology in an iPad or an iWatch, or a corner story, but story, because that's what you're asking for, that's what we are going to be consistent and delivering. Does everything that we do, small or a large scale, respond to the core value of Verizon? And if the answer is yes, then we go for it. And yes, we are in stadiums, we are in stores, we are in apps, we are in digital, we're everywhere. It is necessary to have a system that is consistent, that we are implementing tools to have like brand governance that makes everything look great and sharp. And there's also the human component of it to make sure that what's going out there, it's not something that is not connected and not representing the brand. Like there's a lot of help, but I don't think a lot of people feel like driving scale is just like driving a very unique message in every touch point. That's not the answer for us right now.
I agree. So, moving forward, CAN 2030. What do you think, how do you think marketing organizations are gonna look like? And what's that new role that you think is gonna be created that does not exist yet in marketing? Is that
a new role that is going to be created? Do you say a new role, like job?
Any role, yeah. What do you think? Currently, we have planners, we have designers, we have a lot of functions within marketing, right? What is that new thing that you think in 5 years from now? What is that new function within marketing organization that doesn't exist now?
I think it's probably a lot less functionally aligned. People do one thing and are specialists in that. A lot more generalists who truly understand the audiences and the businesses and are able to connect, all parts of marketing and use all the tools that they have at their disposal to do work. So much more generalist type of roles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think, so I very much agree, actually, what James said. I think that the roles are actually have already started changing in terms of what is required. My hope is that the people will remain the same. So, and basically, the perspective now I'm taking is how can I actually help my people evolve and skill up, right? To be ready for these roles as well. So the conversation now is about how it's all going to be replaced and so on. I don't think so. I mean, if you see a statistic, I think you say 1 in 2 jobs in the US is going to be reshaped by AI in the next 2 to 3 years, right? But the thing is, how can we help our people upskill as well along the journey? And people sometimes ask me, Elaine, in terms of leading AI now on top of your day job, how have you had to change your team? Have you had to hire new people? And I say, what's the number of people I've had to kind of hire or in order to do this is 0. It's the same people. It's all of us. And it's because we understand the organization, we understand consumers, we understand the categories, we understand how to embed things into the organization to make decisions. And I think a natural curiosity and sort of a learning spirit has helped evolve the people. I said, so keeping the same people while the roles are evolving.
Yeah, I think you said 5 years. I'll come much closer in because I don't know 5 years from now. I think we need a massive upskilling of our current workforce to understand AI and its opportunity. And so while I agree with the generalist comment for sure as we go forward, I think now oftentimes my experience is you bring specialists in who really all they care about is that space. And building the capability within your organization for that space. I feel like next year, this time, we'll be talking about folks on our team who are dedicated to AI, talking about processes, talking about media, talking about really focused on upskilling an organization to understand the power of AI. That's the thing. I'm not sure we're really grasping what's in front of us yet, and I feel like you need some focus. It used to be we used to bring in search specialists or social specialists. Now that's part of the day job. But it got there because you brought in people who really knew what they were doing, and they championed that capability within the organization. And that's what I think we are with the current next couple hires. I just hired someone 6 months ago, and their job is actually AI retail, leveraging and understanding the tools at retail to optimize how we show up on retail using AI. That's their job.
But you said earlier, Rob, when students ask you for advice on what they should be doing, that kind of adaptability and curiosity. And I think we have to hire people who can do multiple things. Yeah, they may be deep in one thing now, but 5 years from now, they may be doing something completely, right?
I think with the proliferation of how content gets created and how saturated your feed are and how it is very hard to identify what's current and what's not. Of course, everything everybody here says in terms of AI capabilities and software, but I think when it comes to creative, I think we're seeing it now this sort of chief fandom officer kind of role being created of somebody who becomes a discerning curator of what is the thing that we need to activate immediately, because if we miss a beat, if we miss a day, if we miss 2, we miss the trend, right? And that I think it's something that it's more and more needed, especially in creative and social teams.
Great. So we're out of time. Want to thank you for joining this panel. I'm hoping maybe we can meet next year at the same panel and see if their prediction came true or not and what changed. But for now, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.